This is Graduate a CEO, what it takes and what it means to become an entrepreneur, and why college is the perfect time to start your business. Here's Jim Hunter.
This week, my guest is blockchain expert Benny Pekala, the co-founder of Cryptan Labs and founder of Birdwell Solutions. With a wealth of experience building web and mobile apps for over 10,000 users, Benny is a seasoned software builder with a focus on creating groundbreaking Web3 apps. We're going to dive into his entrepreneurial journey, his expertise in blockchain, and how he's helping companies navigate the rapidly changing landscape of emerging technologies. Benny, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here.
Well, good. Can you tell us about your background and how you got into the field of blockchain?
Yeah, I started as a math nerd in high school. And it's cool because I actually took cryptography and information theory, but computer science courses at the University of Minnesota while I was still in high school. And then I went into computer science in college and then emerged from college building apps. So building mobile apps and web apps. Then as I was pivoting my business back in 2021, always had a personal interest in blockchain and decided to take the sharp left turn and dive down it with the business. So learned everything that I could, moved down to Miami, and I've been deep into blockchain ever since.
Did you grow up in Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area?
I did indeed, South Minneapolis.
And where did you go to school? Where did you go to college?
UW-Madison. I'm so grateful of my college experience. It was
what I thought, because when I interviewed you 3 years ago, I think you were in Madison, I believe at that time, unless I was misunderstood. So when you graduated, you moved to Miami.
Yeah, and it wasn't immediate. So I graduated and started my business in Madison. And then it was when the pandemic hit and I saw the writing on the wall that I decided to get up and move south.
Well, excellent. What was the biggest challenge you faced when building your first Web3 app? And I'll have to admit, I don't know what a Web3 app is. So maybe you can help in both of those.
Absolutely. So starting with what is a Web3 app? Web3, it's kind of a buzzword, but it generally refers to the next generation of the internet, which is characterized by blockchain, NFTs, the metaverse, so immersive experiences, and cryptocurrency. So for us, our first blockchain app was when a partner of ours tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, we need some extra help on this. We've got an NFT project and we could use some more talented developers. And myself and my business partner were eager. We were happy. We were like, oh, this sounds so cool. Our biggest challenge was really the security mixed with communicating that with other stakeholders. So I guess as context, obviously security is always important, when building any application. It becomes extra important in Web3 because of this property of the blockchain that immutability. So immutability means that once you've pushed something, once you've published something, you can't change it. So when building an NFT project, there's a lot of making sure that everything is properly set up, and specifically all of the different NFTs within the collection are programmed correctly. And we knew that, but there was a timeline and there was a lot of moving pieces, and we had trouble really communicating the need to, hey, slow down, everybody. We've got to make sure we really dot our T's and cross our I's and make sure that by the time we hit the go button, we've got everything double checked. So that was a challenge, but through a little bit of kicking and screaming, the team was very receptive. So we ended up being able to get everything just the way it needed to be.
Well, that's great. It still scares me to death to think that my money is going to be in the hands of some digital situation. And being several generations older than you, all of us are afraid of that because that's our nest egg. We don't want to screw it up. So
Yeah.
how do we make sure that when it pertains to our money, it's safe?
I think when putting money into Web3, probably the two key principles I have. Number one is to do your own research. There's fraud, there's people that are ingenuine, right, that are not authentic, that are out to do harm in every industry. And unfortunately, in blockchain, where sometimes your identity is tied to a wallet, it's tied to something that doesn't have your government name on it, it can be easier for people to be bad actors. So the first step is really to do your own research in a similar way to if you were researching investing in a stock. However, this time, instead of having the U.S. government do your research for you, in order to list on the stock market, you've really got to do that research and make sure that you know who is involved in the project, get as much history as you can into the project prior to making any investment. And this is not financial advice, by the way. And also talk to people involved, right? So talk to other people that may be investors, other people that may be community members. But yeah, principle one is really to do your own research. Principle two, and I think this is an important one, and it's also kind of bad news for some people, is that perhaps investing in Web3 is not the right call. So investing in Web3 it's very, or specifically into cryptocurrencies or into Web3 projects, it's a very volatile market. So there's a possibility for high returns, and that draws some people in. Although there's, on the flip side of that, there's the possibility that you might lose everything. So if safety is in mind, if looking to make investments that have more of a guaranteed return, it might not be the best choice to go into blockchain and investing into Web3. Although certainly I'm a fan of it, but that's kind of my breakdown.
Okay, well, being a senior guy scares me to death, but I could take a piece of what I own and I would call speculating on it. So it's not out of the question, but I'll give you a little history. Last October, I clicked on something on the internet that cost me $40,000 because they got into my bank account and they transferred money to a California bank. Thankfully, I reached my bank in time and they reached that bank in time, and 2 months later I got the money back. But that is a rare instance. Usually when it's gone, it's gone. So that scared me to death. So I want to be very careful. I've changed all my passwords, and I won't click on anything that I don't know for sure that it is something I should be clicking on. So that causes me to be reticent to move forward on anything involving my money. But still, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm willing to risk a little bit. So I'm still interested.
I think it's a brand new space, and with new technology, there often comes I don't want to say fast money, but there often comes some new companies that are able to, build a new market, be first in a new industry. So it's exciting. It's exciting. And I think the criteria that I use, in addition to, like I said, this is not financial advice. Always do your own research. The criteria I use is to look at Web3 companies and Web3 projects like a business. Look at what are the predicted cash flows. What is the market and the problem that they're addressing? And there's always kind of an element of, hey, what is the next person over going to think, right? What are other investors going to think? And, hey, am I here early? And possibly that will benefit if I'm able to make that investment first before more people find out about it. But I really try to put that to the side and think, hey, how do we look at Web3 projects, even if they are kind of new and kind of hard to conceptualize? Think of them like businesses, like traditional businesses, and apply kind of basic fundamentals. That's my strategy.
Sounds good. You've started up 2 companies, and I'd like to talk about Cryptan Labs and Birdwell Solutions. How did those come together?
Absolutely. So Birdwell Solutions is the company that we started while we were in college. So a good friend of mine and I, we kind of always wanted to do our own thing. It was cool. We actually met just following, I had launched a student organization that had gotten a little bit of attention, and we had just done our big launch. And he and I met right after that. And he's like, "Hey, I heard you did Data Match," which is what it was. You want to go start a company? And so we did it. We didn't really know what we were doing at the beginning. We were lucky to have a lot of mentors who really helped us along the way. But yeah, so Birdwell Solutions, we build mobile apps and web apps. And recently, I guess it's been a while now, but now what's new is building blockchain applications and NFT projects and other types of emerging technology products. But yeah, so we build web apps and mobile apps. And Cryptan Labs, I kind of describe it as an evolution of that. So I guess to describe that and make sense of it, as a developer, when you're building applications, sometimes it's difficult to help the business in other ways, right? You might sit there and say, "Hey, I just built this app for you and it's all ready to go, but hey, you really need to go do a marketing campaign now, right? You really need to go and do an activation and run some ad campaigns and get this in front of people." And sometimes it's difficult as a developer to be in that position where the business owner will act on that. So Cryptan Labs it began as a partnership with us and our marketing partner, because they had a similar problem on the marketing side. They were marketing things, but they didn't work very well, and they didn't have good developers on the project. So we originally partnered because we realized that together we were able to make more of an impact on the businesses that we worked with. So then Cryptan Labs really as an entity happened when we kind of discovered that worked really well. So we formed an accelerator program, which means that we have like educational resources, and we take applications, and once a quarter we have 20 to 25 companies that we help with their milestones, and we help them launch and generally get to the next major milestone. Sometimes that's investment. And then we have an incubator side. So instead of just being a developer on the project, we'll actually partner and say, "Hey, we're going to help you develop your app, and we're also going to help you with remarketing, and we're also going to help make network connections for you," right? So we incubate projects and really become part of a team. So it's really exciting for me because it feels like this was the natural evolution of everything we have been doing at Birdwell, and everything's really coming together.
Now, you mentioned several people at an incubator. Are these people all remote?
Yeah. So even having started my business before the pandemic, and I know we hadn't been around all too long then, but getting a sense of kind of how we operated our company then, this new model that we have post-pandemic is a mix between virtual and in person. So we have people in Miami. That's where we're based, and we do a lot of community events and a lot of kind of on-the-ground activities. But we absolutely, we don't want to be selective. And also we know a lot of really amazing people that are elsewhere. So I'd say it's about 50-50. We have team members. We have a lot of activity in Miami. But by all means, we've expanded from there. So we also have a team in New York. We've got team members in Los Angeles, team members all over the country. So it's a mix between in-person activities that we do and doing a lot of Zoom calls and activities where we can include everybody virtually.
Gosh, that's great. I'm really intrigued by this because there's a conflict going on right now between calling everybody back and meeting in person and having what they would term teamwork exercises where you're face-to-face and so forth, while at the same time having some people remote. And are you able to develop such a team atmosphere with half being remote and half being in person?
Yeah, I actually, take the controversial to some people that are my similar generation and age. I think the in-person team building is incredibly valuable. To us, we do everything we can to, even people that are remote, to meet them in person and to have, events where we're traveling to them or we're bringing them down to come to us. We really see the virtual as an extension that enables us to kind of take advantage of what virtual has to offer. So by being virtual, we're able to work with team members that don't have the same cost of living in Miami or New York City. We're able to have a presence in markets that are more than just our local market, right? So we're able to be active in multiple cities, in multiple countries, actually. But we don't want that to take away from the team building. And I do think that having that ability to sit down and get to know each other, and absolutely, as you touched on, the creative elements are, I agree with the people that are calling people back to the office. And the way we see it, and I think my take, if I was in that position, would be to say, hey, if you want to work remote, great, but we're going to pay you less, because hopefully if you're remote, you have a lower cost of living. And I think the labor market will reflect that. That's kind of my forward casting.
But you also do have face-to-face meetings to build the team. Is that correct?
Face-to-face meetings, events, conferences, every opportunity we can.
Terrific. How does Cryptan Labs help early-stage companies navigate the rapidly changing landscape of emerging technologies?
I guess probably the start is just all the community activities we do. So we have a number of events, networking events that we host, both in person and virtually, as well as times that we get speakers and we bring in people that we look up to educate us, right? But educate people in our community and our audience. So anybody that gets connected to us online, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. We do everything that we can to share what we see and the knowledge that we're picking up. For early stage companies that are really actively going through the process, right? They're building out a deck, they're taking that to early customers, they're building their MVP, they're launching their MVP. We have an accelerator program. So for pre-seed to Series A, once a quarter, we take applications and offer 8 weeks of completely free, so cash-free, equity-free coursework where we match them to an advisor and help them work through either product market fit, work on their go-to-market, or work on their fundraising strategy. And then outside of the accelerator, sometimes we come in contact with companies that, and we're actually pretty selective of this, companies that we feel aligned with, that could use more hands on deck, right? That really could use help going through the process and actually managing their teams. So we come on as fractional advisors, so fractional, executive services, so as a fractional CTO or fractional CMO, and we're able to actually use our teams, certainly use our own time to help them to operate. So that's through what we call like the incubator side, where we're really taking a more hands-on approach.
Well, when I listened to your description, I did hear a lot about limiting your projects to very deep technology. Do you just work with companies that are in pretty sophisticated technology, or do you work with others as well?
Primarily, we focus on the emerging tech scene. So we're lucky that that's actually pretty broad, right? So it includes kind of what we talked about before with Web3. It also includes AI, Internet of Things, 5G. There's a number of technologies that we're excited about. So I'd say that's probably about 80% of where we focus. And that is from the accelerator's perspective. That is what we look for applicants, because that's kind of the network that we've built to support. So we want to make sure we can support everyone. We do work with projects outside of that. So as I kind of said through my story, but also through my partners at the accelerator, we all have a lot of experience in Web 2, as they call it. So in mobile and web applications that are outside of that. So we're always open to have a conversation, see if it's something where we can help. There's a number of industries like fashion, like sports, like influencers and celebrities that we actually have a lot of expertise on the team and are able to help. So we're mostly focused on the emerging tech, but we're here to help anybody that we can. So we're always open to conversations with companies that are in traditional technology stacks.
Well, that's great. Without giving away confidential information, can you share a success story of a company that you advised?
Yeah, probably some of the biggest successes are companies we've advised that have successfully raised. Other companies are ones that we've come in and helped them to really craft a Web3 strategy and go to market with it. Probably the best example that comes to mind right now. So we have a company that they have an AI beat platform. So
Beat.
music. So yeah, beat.
Okay.
So like, yeah. So as a producer, like when you're making beats, and you'll say, all right, hey, I'm going for something in this style, right? So they have a tool. It's called Creator. Actually, it's available KR38R. If people want to look it up and give it a try, they have a tool where, as a beat producer, you can say, hey, I want to get a beat in the style of Travis Scott, right? Or, hey, I want to get a beat that's a EDM beat. And you can press a button and it uses an AI to, it's really cool. That's learned through music theory. That's really the secret sauce, is really a deep understanding of music theory. And it produces a beat that producer can then plug into their track and use. So they came to us and actually have a lot of this already built, right? A lot of this already developed. They have a really strong business, and I could speak more to other components of their business, but came to us really for, hey, we're looking to enter Web3, right? We're looking to position this in a way where we can have people, other companies, other producers that are interested in the emerging tech scene, to build partnerships there and to really activate on the Web3 side. So we came in and helped them with a Web3 strategy, right? Saying, hey, this is where we see as kind of the low-hanging fruit, as I say. So places where companies can get started with this technology, but it's relatively safe and it's relatively low cost, or a low investment for a higher reward. And then we also help them map out beyond that, right? And it's really exciting. We've seen them they're in a lot of really conversations with partners that they were really trying to talk with, and they're actively building that Web3 approach and getting traction and interest from stakeholders and investors. So that's probably the best one that comes to mind right now. And if people want to check it out, it's a really cool platform, and they've come a long way since we originally met them. And I'm really excited for where they're going.
Well, that's great. I want to hear more about the work you're doing, but we have to take a break. Coming up in the second part of my conversation with Benny Pekala, the founder of Cryptan Labs and Birdwell Solutions, Benny shares some of the reasons students should consider graduating as CEO.
You've also got some really unique knowledge, right? Don't sell yourself short. Give yourself some credit. As somebody that's coming out of college, you've got the knowledge of the future that a lot of people that are older might not have. So go for it.
This has been Graduate a CEO with Jim Hunter. If you'd like to connect with Jim and learn more about why you should consider starting a business while in college, go to jameshhunter.com. Graduate a CEO is a production of Advantage Audio.